Well, there you are, Cleo. How you doing today? Huh? You enjoying your kitty food? You Papa's girl? Are you Papa's girl? Are you? Papa loves you. Where's old Magoo? An Elrod. He'll sleep somewhere in the shade. You out here guarding the porch, food and the water? You are. Well, you stay here. Papa's got something he needs to do. He'll be back shortly. Now don't worry, okay? We got it all taken care of. You betcha. Well, hello there, friends and family. Yep, we're gonna step on out here. Of course, saw Cleo on the front steps there. This is Sunday, May the 31st. I think it's my 76th day in self-isolation. Unbelievable. Now I know many of y'all been at the house and your property for even longer than that. And it's time to take a road trip. No, we're not gonna go shopping, go to any big box stores or grocery stores. Sorry about that. That may come later. What we are gonna do is go someplace that I truly enjoy. It's rather secluded and private. And it's a place where I go in times when I want to think. Haven't been there in a while. Not since last year. Used to go there all the time. My son, my daughter, and that. I'm going to take y'all along with me. Because I know many of y'all like to take a ride. So, if you want, follow me. I'll get on over to the vehicle. Jump on in, plenty of room. And we'll take a ride on the wild side. Of course, as you can see, Cleo's laying over my feet. She ain't wanting Papa to go. Well, baby, sometimes a man's just gotta do what a man does. Okay? Yep. I'll be back shortly. And understand, Papa's well prepared like always. So as y'all know, got the old truck back. Yep, she's running again. Yeah, James had it taken over to a shop in Montgomery. Had the fuel pump replaced for Daddy, because he didn't want me getting under there and doing that heavy kind of work. He was just worried. Says old Papa's getting too old. Well, maybe he's right. But if he hadn't have done that, I'd have sure done it. Of course, I guess that's why he was so adamant. He knew better. Really do appreciate that. Tried to pay him for it. He wouldn't have it. I'll tell you what, I'll save that money, put it aside. In case my son needs it, it'll be there waiting on him. You just never know. So, let's jump on in. A couple of y'all can get in the cab. Rest of y'all gonna have to do it like we did back in the day. Just jump in the back of the bed and hold on. So let's take a ride. And I'll try my best to put y'all up on the windshield. Got this newfangled windshield mount here that a viewer sent me. We'll give it a try today. See how it works out. So come on. Woo. It's been a while. Of course, it's nice and hot today. Some odd 89 degrees. Might be approaching 90 now. Now this old truck is old school. You know, it don't have all those thermometers and GPS and all that going on. Nope, it don't. And to be honest, she still needs some work. Let's see if she'll crank on up for us. Oh, did you listen to that? That was so quick and smooth. Oh yeah. Now, air conditioning doesn't work anymore, folks. So here again, we're gonna have to go old school. Roll down the windows, let our hair blow in the wind. You know, that 660 air conditioning. That's where we rolled down the windows, went 60 miles an hour. And that's what we're going to be doing now. So y'all, let me get y'all all tucked in. Get your seat belts on. And let's take a ride. Well, I hope y'all can see well there, because that's where you're going to be. I think you'll be a lot safer than sitting up on the tripod on the dash, always falling over and getting all bruised up. So, let's head on out and see what we can see. Don't you just love hills with a manual transmission? It's been a while since old Mr. Tom drove a manual transmission. Oh, at least a year or two. But we'll get the hang of it, so just bear with me. Well, when I'm running my mouth, I hope y'all can hear me, because you know we got that 660 air conditioning going, windows open. Of course, we ain't doing but about 20 miles an hour now. So it's a little toasty in the old truck, because it's a little bit after 1. I think it's about 1:53 at the moment. We're going to go on up here and make a left. And I guess this red Dodge are going to do that too. Always make sure to look both ways. Woo! Can you see how pretty it is? That bright sunshine, some wispy clouds up there. Now this ain't gonna be such a far ride. We're only going about 3.2 miles from the old home place now. You might be getting all bounced around because the tires on the old truck are still a little bit flat spotted. You'll round out in time because we're gonna have to drive it a while. Of course, we still gotta take the Focus out for a road trip and burn some more gas off it. Oh, I see the mimosas in bloom there. That's pink flowers off to the right. Well, I'm going to shut up now and let you just enjoy the ride. dropping down back into the rural part of the county. Yep. Well, life ain't changed much. Like I told y'all, I live on the last city street. Everything to the north of me is very rural. Maybe I should have moved a mile or two more north before everything broke out the way it has, you know, virus and all that. And I did have some property up here, but I needed the money and I had to sell it. It wasn't for me, and I'll just leave it at that. Sometimes you gotta take care of others, folks. Getting old. I left the blinker on. I'm sure y'all caught that. Couldn't hear that little click, click, click. And that probably needs replacing too. You know, the old truck's 21 years old come this August, but it's still doing fine. It'll do just fine for what I want. Not like I'm going to take long road trips in it. And here we are. Gonna make a little turn here. Make sure not to come around that curve. And we're gonna go back on in here. And where we're going has a place for the Piedmont Plateau Birding Trail, which is a birding trail all throughout the state of Alabama, just in case you're into birds. Of course, hiking too. All kinds of sites. You can look that up. Now, not many people come on back off in here, because only a few locals even know it's back here. And you know what, folks? We all want to keep it that way. Makes it sort of like our special place. All private and secluded. And as you can see, while y'all are bouncing all around, it's secluded. And we're dropping down here off the ridge into what many folks would call a holler. We're just taking our time, driving slow, because the road's rather narrow. Sort of got to get off the side if somebody else is coming. And here we are, the Forever Wild Coon Creek Nature Preserve and Recreational Area. They got a boat ramp here too. Ain't nothing too fancy. But back in the day when the kids were here, on occasion, this is where we'd slip in one of our boats. Now, I don't know if anybody will be back here today or not. They might, but like I say, it's not all that popular. Only a few folks know about it anymore. Most that used to have done come and gone. it does look like somebody's down here fishing. About all I ever see is about one truck and one boat. There's you a nice view of where Yates Lake, or what we call the middle pond, is backed up in here to the Coon Creek area. I'll give you a little secret. It's mighty fine catfishing right here. In the right times of year, some good brim and crappie fishing too. But don't tell others, okay? We're gonna go all over here and park there in the shade. And of course, we stalled the truck. Got to put it in first gear when you're going slow, Mr. Tom. So we in the shade now. So let me get y'all unmounted there, and we'll take a little walkabout, and of course talk about. You know what, I will say this about all this: it's a whole lot cooler down here by the lake. Yep, quite a bit cooler too, especially in this shade. Got a breeze coming down the ridge through those hollers. Nice. And a lot of times you'll come down here and you'll see cranes here by the banks, out there in the reeds, all different types. Of course, ducks, geese, depends on the time of year. So now there are a lot of hiking trails here. Now this is just a small area. It's only 320 acres. And like I say, it's part of the Piedmont Plateau birding trail. As I've told y'all many times, when Mr. Tom lives on top of the Piedmont Plateau, not too far, you know, walking distance. I can walk on down to the coastal basin. And this here is part of what we refer to as Yates Lake, or as locals call it, the middle pond. Towsey Lake, where you see me go all the time when I walk through the big woods, that's Lake Towsey, what they call the little pond. And then a few miles north of here is Lake Martin, one of the larger lakes in the state. I think it's the second largest, first largest being Guntersville. Now, I want to show you something here. Because when we get a lot of rain here, water gets real high. I don't know if you can see that, but there's mud on these leaves, and that's almost up chest high. Yep. And as always, people throw out their trash, and that's sad around here, because that's the very reason that the state closes public access areas and public recreation areas. People don't respect them and don't take care of them. But then they get all in a tizzy because the state closes them. It's their own darn fault. Yep, we got another person coming. But like I say, this is part of a Forever Wild management area, and I'll just show you a little bit about it. Part of the Forever Wild Land Trust, Coon Creek Tract, nature preserve and recreational area. And it's got a little map over here, shows how the hiking trail goes around it. You got the Wood Duck Trail right there, 4 miles round trip, and you got the Overlook Loop here, which is 1 mile. Now 1 mile might not mean much, but that's mostly upgrade and downgrade. all the way back up the ridge line. And during hunting season, this is open to public hunting. Of course, you got to have permits, license, and all of that. So, we're going to take a little walkabout. We ain't going far. The reason I came here was to find a little quiet place, do some thinking, pondering, you know, about life in general. Yeah, and here's a little creek. This ain't Coon Creek, coming down from the ridge line. Now, the reason it's named Coon Creek is for the abundance of raccoons in the area. And boy, does it got plenty. And on occasion, old Mr. Tom has plenty over at his place. Well, those folks that pulled up, they weren't all too ready to stay here. They just sort of gandered a bit and took on off. Yeah, probably for the best. So we're going to head on up here on this trail. And it's rather steep, I'm going to tell you that. Of course, trails here in Alabama are well marked. Got red paint on the trees. And one place I like to come to is right over here on the left. And they got a park bench right here. And things like this are built by the Boy Scouts. Yep. In fact, they make them Eagle Scout projects. And of course, somebody left their shirt. And that trail heads on up the ridge where it gets steeper and steeper. Nope. I'm not into all that today. Sunday's a day of rest. And you can see the water out there, the breeze slightly rippling the top of the water. You'll be able to hear some birds from time to time. Nothing like over at old Mr. Tom's place. Peaceful. Especially now that the other truck drove off. Old Mr. Tom blew out of breath hiking up this ridge. Boy, I remember a time when I could hike all day up in the mountains of North Alabama, the canyons of central Alabama, to the coastal plains. That's what a lot of people don't know about Alabama. It has such a wide-ranging geography. Yeah, a lot of people come here for the first time. They think it's all going to be open fields and cotton. I remember that when I was a child. We'd sort of laugh at them. Because most of that Alabama went away a long time ago. Now, to be honest, the vast majority of Alabama is wooded. And if you look it up, there's a lot of land put into nature preserves and land trusts all over the state. A lot of land's tied up in state parks. And a couple of national forests too. And as you can see, the camera's picking it up good. This time of year, it's downright gorgeous. Now, y'all, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see me, or how well you'll hear me. And we'll work on that when we edit it. Like, let me put you over here and get you out of my hand so old man ain't shaking all the time, okay? So there we have it, y'all. Hope you can see me. Maybe I'll scoot up a little bit. We just wanted to come someplace, take the truck for a short drive, take y'all for a short drive in it. None of y'all have been in the truck. Y'all always come with me in the Focus. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope the ride wasn't too bumpy. Nobody got any bruises. But I wanted to come here, spend some time today thinking about things. So much is going on, you know, with that old virus. Everything. And then we got some chaos going. And that in the country. Not good. In any way, form, or fashion. But there's been some other things going on. Many of you viewers have asked why Mr. Tom isn't reporting on food shortages or meat shortages. Because I did a lot of that in 2019. I had 2 different video series. Food Crisis 2019, Food Crisis 2020. And if you're interested to see what I thought about all that and the research and material I presented, then you need to go back and look at those. Now, what I've decided to do, and I have been doing some research on the current food shortages, situation of our food supply, meat supply, and after spending many hours doing that, I've decided I wasn't going to join the panic parade. Now, what do I mean by the panic parade? Well, I think about everybody. Well, not everybody, but a whole lot of homesteading channels, gardening channels, prepping channels. They've all jumped off into that, hyping it up. The food shortages and the meat shortages. But when I looked into it a little bit deeper, it wasn't as bad as it seemed. Oh yeah, prices are definitely high. But they were going to be significantly higher this year, even before the virus hit. If you don't believe me, here again, you got to go back to those series I did earlier. Food Crisis series. There were going to be spot shortages of basic staples, vegetables, and meats based on the 2019 harvest. Now, it's much worse. But it's not worse because there's not food out there and there's not meat out there. See, one of the main issues for a lot of our shortages right now is because once you look into it, there's 2 different supply chains. There's the consumer supply chain. And what I mean by that, that's the supply chain that supplies our grocery stores, supermarkets, convenience stores, and what have you. Then there's the food service supply chain that supplies all the restaurants, fast food and otherwise, institutions, all the schools, colleges, prisons, and what have you. Now, all the food that's normally grown, contracted, processed, and delivered to that side, you know, the commercial side, is still out there. Yep, it's still out there, and that's what a lot of you all are seeing when you see all the vegetables stacked up, being left to rot, fields being turned under. The same way with meats. Anywhere from chicken to pork to beef, a lot, or the milk. Most of what you're seeing being destroyed is because all the restaurants, all the institutions were closed. They weren't buying any of it. And you might say, well, why didn't they sell that in the supermarkets? Well, it's basically because of packaging. If you've ever worked in a restaurant, you don't go buy a chicken. You may buy 100 at a time. And they come packaged that way. Or if you buy them frozen, which I gotta tell you, the majority of restaurants, their food is pre-frozen. And it comes in cases of 100 pounds or more. Now, most of us can't afford to buy that. Now, I know many of y'all are going to say, well, you know, I went to my Aldi's, Publix, Safeway, Walmart, and they're out stocking all this stuff. Yep, they sure are. Yep. And part of that was because, like me, and thousands of y'all, we stocked up. And every time we get a chance, we resupply and restock. And for a while, especially during March, April, and first parts of May, that led to shortages of staples, and there still are shortages of certain things depending on the area where you are. And part of that is like I told you, even back in 2019, when it comes time that there's going to be tight food supplies, our government and the corporations are going to divert that food supply first to the largest population areas, i.e. our largest cities, and then medium-sized cities, smaller cities. Why? To make sure to limit civil unrest. Because it's like I've also told you, there's no dangerous animal on the planet than a hungry human. Trust me, there isn't. So with all that said, why ain't old Mr. Tom jumping on the panic wagon and doing videos about meat shortages and food shortages? Well, first of all, I've always been well prepared for food. Y'all know that. If you've been with the channel any length of time, you'll know old Mr. Tom's got food covered. And some of you might say, well, yeah, all your viewers send you everything. No. What they do send is highly appreciated. I can't thank them enough for being so gracious and kind. But I was already prepared to an extent. Now, what do I mean by an extent? Well, since my children were born, I've always prepared to have ample food on hand for people for a minimum of 1 year. Now they're not here at the house living with me. So now I probably have more than enough food to go one person for far more than 4 years. And that includes meats. I've showed my freezer, or at least one of them. On times I've showed you my cupboards, some of them. Many of you have asked for me to show you everything. No, that's not going to happen. It's just not a wise idea. And if we take the staples, I got beans covered, rice, wheat, noodles. You know, I got vegetables in every shape, size, and storage way imaginable. You know, got them canned, have them frozen, I have them dehydrated, I even have them freeze dried. And the same is true with the meat. I have canned meats of all types. I have dried meats. Oh yeah, maybe you didn't think about that. Dried beef, you know, that jerky, excellent to have in your long-term food storage. It's the way the pioneers did it. And I have freeze-dried meats and that. And as far as the meats go, it's just like where I'm sitting here now. Old Mr. Tom has hunted in the past. And if he had to, he could do it again. I have the tools to do that. I can hunt. I can fish. You know, I live within a quarter-mile, one lake here. To this lake, closest to the house, is a half mile. Where we're sitting now is about 3.2 miles. Of course, we're up halfway up in that lake. And then the second largest lake in the state, Martin, is less than 5 miles. Plenty of fishing. plenty of hunting. Now, we're sitting here at a small forever wild area. Like I say, you can hunt here. You can fish with the right permits and licenses and in season. But there's a much larger forever wild area just another mile up the lake. Had to clear my throat a little bit because I don't know what's all blooming now, what's all in the air, but woo, allergies are acting up since I got out of the house today. So, pardon me for my voice. And I know I keep staring off in the distance, but this place is just too beautiful, too serene. But like I was saying, there's a much larger area, about a mile or so north here. Well, it's actually northwest. It's across the lake, across the river. And that's the Yates Lake Forever Wild area. And it's nearly 6,000 acres. Yep. Not a soul living on it. Nope. It's got a few hiking trails, a few picnic tables, a couple of benches. Other than that, that's all it's there. And just like here, even during the busiest times, you might see 2, 3 people at the most. Because here again, most people don't know about these places. And hey, I brought y'all along. But don't be talking it up, okay? Just keep it in your back pocket. In case you want to come over here and join on Mr. Tom. Now, like y'all know, just a extremely short walk from my house is what I call the Big Woods. And it's probably somewhere just under 1,000 acres. So I have all access to all this land. Nope, I don't own it. But right time of year, right permits and licenses, I can hunt here too. Now, if a total governmental collapse happened, well then, I'm sure the permits and licenses wouldn't matter. Now, you're probably going to say, well, everybody else out going to be doing that hunting and fishing too. No. You know why? Because all those people, the masses, they don't got the food to make it to where they can hunt and fish. Because they didn't think ahead. They don't got the experience, the knowledge, or the training. You know, that's why it's called hunting and fishing, folks. It ain't called getting meat and getting fish. Even me, I fished most of my life. I hunted up until I was, late 20s, before I gave it up. I still know how. I still know animal tracks, how to track an animal, how to set up a blind, do all that kind of stuff. I can even trap. I was taught by my great-grandfather and my grandfather. I have skills. Those don't come out of a book or Mr. Google. And of course, like I'm saying, if we have a total governmental collapse, probably old Mr. Google ain't going to be around. That brings up another subject. Get some of those, old school books, not e-books, paper ones, and build you a library of essential skills. Not only canning and gardening, first aid. You need to know these things. Hunting, fishing, trapping. Just never know. Because things aren't looking all too well. Here in my state, we've opened up. Cases are soaring. The hospitals are overwhelmed. But people continue on. Just like I told you. The United States and every state has got to that point where we're just going to ride the wave. Yep, the wave of death. Those who get it, get it. Those who survive, survive. And those who die, die. And that's where we're at. And people keep talking about a second wave with this virus. I'd just like somebody to tell me, when did the first wave subside? I missed it. We don't got to worry about the second wave. First wave is still going strong. So, everything I've said, still the question remains, well, yeah, I got all that food stored. I do. So that's why I'm not going to worry. Well, it won't last forever, right? No. Especially the meat. And that's one thing I want to talk about, meat. Because if you're a prepper, or you believe in preparedness, you have one staple in not only your short-term pantry, your long-term pantry, and your long-term food storage. That is a substitute for meat, folks. One of the main reasons we who do believe in being prepared and prepping, keep it on hand. Now when I mention it, many of y'all might say, well, I got it because it was readily available and cheap. Didn't take much to store. Oh yeah, all those reasons are relevant too. But that's not the main reason. All of us keep it on hand. Maybe y'all throw in the comments right now what you think the main reason is. So if y'all are done typing what you thought the main reason for keeping this one staple on hand was, I'll tell you. That's beans, folks. Beans, yes. A plant supplied protein. Beans. And as you all know, just look back in my older video about beans. Mr. Tom got a lot of beans. And as you know from my garden videos, Mr. Tom grows a lot of beans. Why? For all those reasons. You can store them in so many ways. Some of them take little to no effort or input. You can just let them dry on the vine for dried beans. Throw them in a jar. You can harvest them as green beans, cut them, dehydrate them. Yep. You know, there's all these fancy dehydrated there's all these fancy places on the internet that sell, you know, dehydrated vegetables and freeze-dried. Well, you can dehydrate your own green beans. Oh, it needs a dehydrator. And if you don't got one of those, you can build a solar dehydrator. And I might show you how one day. I need one. Don't take no power. And that. And we had a viewer mention something about put them in your car. And he's right. That'll work too. I think that was Eddie. That was a very good comment, Eddie. Thank you. You can cook in the car too, but I won't go into that right now. But you can dehydrate beans. You can just dry them, store them as dried beans. And that. You can can them if that's what you want to do. If you want to buy jars and lids and rings and get you a pressure canner, you can do all that, and they're tasty too. I do some of that too. But my main ways for storing shelf staples is drying, number one, especially stuff like beans, dehydrating. Then my other preferred way is freezing. I don't can much anymore. On occasion, with something I really want to can. So the main reason for the beans ain't about cheap, readily available, easy to store. My main reason has been all those three. But beans are a fantastic substitute for meat protein. And all throughout the developing world and the poor countries, they eat more beans than they do meat. Now another one you all got in your pantry, can you guess? And many of you will. And that's, we'll just make this short, rice. Yep, here again, readily available, easy to store. It's dry. You can leave it in the bags for a better part of a year. Or you can put it in jars, Mylar bag, buckets. Throw in some oxygen absorber, lasts forever. But the secret here is when you take beans and pair them with rice, you got not only a protein source, but a complete protein source and carbohydrate. Yep, the two things you need to survive. So if you got the beans and rice covered, like me, I wouldn't be all too worried about the meat. Yep, and we're starting to see that meat get a little bit back to normal. Yeah, there was some plants shut down. Workers are sick. Meat's high. But we all need to eat less of it, trust me that. And I promote 4 ounces per meal. And here again, you've heard me say it right here on the channel. There's a lot of days, old Mr. Tom don't eat no meat. And here again, I come from a time when that was true too. We used to have a saying here in the Deep South, especially towards the end of the day, we'd all look at each other and go, well, it's time for beans and taters. That just wasn't the same, folks. Back in my childhood and early teens, that was a reality. A lot of people, me included on some days, when the day was done, they went home to just that. Beans and taters, or beans and rice. Now, there might have been a little tiny amount of meat thrown in, just for seasoning. And sometimes it might only be bouillon cubes or beef stock. And I'm sorry. Are we heading back to those ways somewhat? Yeah, a little bit. But I've seen things start opening up. Now, when I say I've seen things opening up, I stay in constant contact with my son. He lives over in Prattville, has a business in Montgomery, and he's been picking me up fresh items as I need them. And every time he comes over, I ask him about the condition of the stores that he shops at. He said, they all look fine. I always ask him, got plenty of meat? Oh yeah, plenty of meat now. Other things? Oh yeah. You know, he'll say, well, today eggs were a little short or milk. But the last time he came by and dropped things off, I asked him the same questions. He said everything looked just fine. Of course now, you just try to find some Clorox wipes. I think Clorox wipes are being all bought up by companies now, because I can't find one online or contact anybody who even knows where a canister of them is. But I still got some. I think I got 3 big containers of them, so ain't no worries yet. See, my thought on all this is the food shortages and the meat shortages are going to be spotty, more prolific in some areas than in others. A lot of that has to do with the supply chain and local resources. It's also going to have to do with labor and the virus. People are getting sick in these meat plants, food processing plants, no doubt. They are getting sick in places that grow and provide vegetables, produce. Yep. But they're still going, maybe at a much reduced volume. But here again, that goes back to the point where I come from an era where you just didn't walk into the store every day and get whatever you wanted. It was only there in season, when available. Not every day of the year, 365 days out of the year. And if we go back to somewhat of that during my lifetime right now, I can deal with that. I just put in more over at the old home place, grow more of my own, preserve it, like I've been showing y'all how to. Now granted, I don't put much in right now, because I don't need much, and it's just one little people, me. Cats just don't appreciate vegetables. Oh, Trixie, she wouldn't eat a vegetable unless you stuffed it in her mouth, and she'd try her best to spit it out. And I'm pretty sure the kitty crew feels the same way about it. Not much into vegetables. Now, they'll sniff at them, like you saw on my last video with the lettuce and radishes. You know, Cleo come checked out the bowl, so did Elrod and Magoo. You didn't see him taking no bites though. But I guess that's my whole point to this little ramble about the food shortage right now and the meat shortages. Now, my advice is, don't panic. If you have the resources and the monies and the time, buy what you feel you want to buy, put it up in your preferred method, and store it. Then you'll feel better, okay? But for those of you who may be lower income or on a fixed income like old Mr. Tom, and you can't afford to pay $7.99 for a hamburger, then remember the beans, remember the rice, remember seasonings, remember fresh garden vegetables. I mean, there's got to be a million ways to fix rice and beans. I have some recipes right here on my channel, and I'm sure there's got to be several million on YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, you know, Yumly. Find one you like, print it out, save it. So y'all, that's enough about food. And trust me, I keep a close eye on it in case anything changes. Why? Because I want to know. And when I know, you'll know. But I think most that watch this channel are well prepared when it comes to food, as well as so many other items that we need. And I'm not going to go into all them. But I can't stress enough, learn basic skills. Gardening, fishing. Fishing is rather fun, whether you catch nothing or catch a lot. Now, if you don't ever want to hunt, that's fine, don't. But you might want to strike up a relationship with somebody who does. I'm just saying. Some of you may have an issue with guns. That's your right. I don't. They're a tool. Or, you know, use bow and arrows, slingshots, use snares. I don't care. Or just don't eat meat at all. Just cut it out of your diet. There's a lot on this channel that are totally vegan, and I respect them for it. Now, I do enjoy meat. But like I say, I don't eat it very often during the week. Maybe twice a week at most. Because I'm frugal. You might say, I'm cheap. I save my meat. Yep, and I use it sparingly. Now, my summer sausage and squash recipe I did, it had 1 pound of summer sausage in it. Now normally I wouldn't put that much. I put a ½ pound. But that sausage has done got, 2 months past its best buy date and that. So it's getting old. So I wanted to use it up. And I knew if I cut it in half and threw the other half in the fridge, I'd lose track of that. Yep, sure would. And that was my thought, and that's why I didn't do it. Now, I know some mentioned there was a whole lot of meat in there. Yeah, it was. But I don't, like I say, that's all the meat I've had this week. Yep. And when did I do that? Back on Wednesday? And there's still half casserole sitting in the fridge. Because I've been eating salads, like y'all saw. So y'all, let's take a little walk around this beautiful woods and lake. Then we'll take it on back to the truck. And we'll head her on back to the house. Now, Hope none of y'all are mad. I hope you understand that's just old Mr. Tom's opinion and his viewpoints based on how he sees it. And that's the beauty of America. We can all have our opinion, and that's one of our rights and freedoms. See, I respect all of y'all for having your rights and freedoms and opinions, with one caveat that you all know. As long as you don't make it personal and it harms none. I think that's fair. And I hope you will think that's fair when you're dealing with me. So let's get up off our butts here and take a walkabout. Oh, well, y'all, that old bench was getting a little hard on the old derriere. Now, as you can see, this trail heads on up the ridge. I'm going to take the lazy way out. I'm going to take this lower trail that goes around this slough here. That's what they call these places where the water backs up here from the lake. That's what we all call it, a slough. Y'all may call it different. I think up northeast a lot of times, especially around the ocean, y'all call it a cove or an inlet. At least that's what I remember from my childhood. I could be wrong. But this little trail beside the lake is rather flat. And there's all kinds of native trees here. Yep. And one that used to be real prevalent in this area. There's a couple of them in front of me. That's a longleaf pine. You don't see them much anymore. You don't see nice big ones like this anymore. Nope. And that bad boy, I can't even see the top of it. Yeah. It's well over 150 feet. There's a whole little grove of them right here. Now I can see oaks, hickories. I have to remember the hickories. Because come fall, I can come forage a pile of hickory nuts. Of course, I have a special place over there in the big woods too, where I forage hickory nuts and pecans in certain areas of that woods where the wild pecans grow. I don't think I ever shared that on video because I don't need everybody knowing about it. See, if you share all the places you gather your food, then it can become a unreliable food source. And of course, I'm seeing all around here muscadine vines. Of course, as always, that's what we're looking at right in front of me. They're going to be way up in the trees. And if you look at that tree there, there's also poison ivy all the way up it. Ooh, I gotta stay away from that poison ivy, because I don't like it, and it don't like me. Well, I'm not gonna walk way off in here. And that, because I didn't bring my pack with me, it's sitting in the truck. I wasn't thinking, was I? Now, I do got my cell phone, and I do got my brand new mossy oak folding knife that Rick and his wife were so kind to send me from up in North Carolina. I just love that little knife, perfect size, just clips right on your belt. Because normally on one of these outings, I'd have one of my hunting knives on. But I really don't think nobody's gonna mess with old Mr. Tom. Of course, you never know. And that's why we brought another friend along. But I ain't gonna share that. You go down, you go up. Even around this lake. Well, that's far enough in for y'all to see some of the beauty. I'm sure the camera won't pick it up, but you can see how steep it is heading back up on the ridge. We're going to head her on back to our truck. Most likely I'll add some music to this in the background so you can enjoy the scenery and the splendor of this forever wild place. Ooh, look at that fern right there. I love ferns. Now there is a pile of poison ivy. It's everywhere. Right off the side of this trail. On both sides. So, have to be careful. That poison ivy oil get on the bottom of my jeans and my shoes. Then I touch them. Touch my face, some other part of my body. And that won't be good. So y'all remind me of that later. When I'm changing into my jammies later. Oh, that's right. Y'all won't be with me then. Yeah, I need to do more of this hiking. Time permitted. Get sort of back in shape. Old man, getting a little slouchy. And that's not because of the quarantine or self-isolation. That's just old age and sitting on my butt too much during the winter. Well, we're back at the bench where the trail split off. So we're going to head on up the truck. My legs are starting to feel it. And you know what? So, you haven't been walking that long this time. You only see the part I show you. Hence, that editing thing. Well, we're almost back. Here's a little bridge. Across a little creek. I can see the parking lot. And my little old truck. I am so proud and grateful to have it back running. Y'all just never know. Thank you, James. I love you. Of course, he knows that. He knows Daddy will be there for him. Should he need it. And here we are back. Before we go, we just take a look at this little water. See what we can see. I didn't take you down by the lake, did I? Now, pardon the garbage. Normally I bring a garbage bag and pick all the stuff like this up. But I forgot that too today. I'll probably come back one day next week and get it all. Oh. Now that's quiet. Buzz of flies. Sound of a slight breeze. The water rippling. Oh yeah. Who could ask for more? Thank you, God. So y'all, let's get loaded back up in the truck. We're gonna take the long way home. I'll get you all strapped in, and we'll enjoy the ride home. It'll be a little bit longer ride, and you can take in the sights and the sounds, okay? So hold on, it's gonna be a little bumpy. Okay, y'all, we'll take a little longer way back. Ain't gonna be that much longer because it's hard to make too long a ride out of the fact we ain't that far from the house. But anyway, you'll see something different. Hope you enjoy it. Well, y'all, there you have it. We're back at the old home place. Hope you enjoyed the ride. Well, there you have it, friends and family. We're back at the old home place. I hope you enjoyed the ride over. The walkabout on the little trail there. And the scenery of the lake. And the forever wild woods. Yeah, maybe you learned something about Alabama today. I'm sure you have similar places where you live, whether it's in America or other parts of the world. And I hope you appreciate my talk and the sincerity of it. And I hope you will understand that's my own personal viewpoint. It don't have to be yours. You have the right to yours, and I respect that always too. So, maybe y'all respect mine. And that. So with that said, I'm a little bit parched. You know, being out there in the woods, even though it was shady. It still was nearly 90 degrees today. Of course, we're blessed with lower humidity. It's only 47%. Thank God. Now, kitty crew, I think they're all sleeping somewhere in the shade. And that, of course, I might throw them in towards the end of the video if they head on over before I get this uploaded. But y'all, till I see you on the next video, I want you to take care out there. Do the best you can. Whether that's preparing your food storage, meat storage, whatever it is. You can only do the best you can. And as always, pray for those in our community that are in need, those in our country, our nation, that God will not only heal us from this virus, but from our problems that we're just not having now, that we've been having for quite some time. Because I pray on all those matters with my Father every night. So, y'all take care, stay safe, and God bless each and every one of you. Till we see you on the next video. Goodbye for now. What? What? You were missing me. You wanted to go? Yeah, you didn't want to go in that truck. It was all hot. I wasn't going in the Focus. No, I took the truck. You know the air's broke. You ladies don't like riding around in the hot truck. No, it's not food time yet. I'll get you some fresh water because Papa's going to get him some, okay? Okay? Say goodbye. Don't turn your head. You could say goodbye. You go. Okay, I'll put up the camera.